Our final entry, before you're ready for the end of unit test, is factoring by grouping. And this is a method to factor polynomials that have 4 terms. And it's a really neat method. So what you're going to do is write down these steps first as I speak them out. First, we're going to split the 4 terms into 2 groups, right? 2 binomials. And then from each of those binomials, we're going to factor out the greatest common factor. And then we're going to write those 2 new binomials. And you'll see once we get to step 4 that the greatest common factors we take out form one of those factors by themselves. And so it's a really neat method. So let's dive into example number 1. So for this first example, we're given 8x cubed plus 4x squared plus 10x plus 5. And we're asked to factor this one. So first we can look for a greatest common factor in general. See 8, 4, 10, 5, so there's nothing there. X cubed, squared to the first, but no x there. So there's no greatest common factor that I can take out completely. But if I look at these separately, kind of as their own binomial, say I have 10x plus 5, that has a greatest common factor. 8x cubed plus 4x squared, that has a greatest common factor. So let's take out a greatest common factor separately instead of together. So we're going to split it into 2 different binomials, and I'm going to show that in 2 different colors. So first I have 8x cubed plus 4x squared. And then I'm adding 10x plus 5. And let's put those in parentheses to show that they're their own binomial. Step 2 is to factor out the greatest common factor of each binomial. So let's do that. We have 8x cubed plus 4x squared. So it looks like the greatest common factor of that one is going to be 4 and then x squared. When I take out that, I'm left with 2x plus, and 4x squared goes into 4x squared once, so 2x plus 1. And now let's do that with 10x plus 5. So greatest common factor, 10x plus 5 would be positive 5. So I'll take out a positive 5, and I'm left with 2x plus 1. And so now look what happened. I have 4x squared times 2x plus 1, and I have positive 5 times 2x plus 1. So one way to think about this is I have another greatest common factor. My common factor is the 2x plus 1. Right? They both have a 2x plus 1. So I can take this out of both of them. And what I have left is 4x squared plus 5. So that's how you factor by grouping. You first group them into 2 binomials. You take out a greatest common factor of each one. Okay? And that greatest common factor becomes its own factor of your final answer. So let's try example 2. For example 2, I'm given 110x cubed plus 77x squared and minus 60x minus 42. So again, we're going to split it into 2 binomials. The first one's going to be 110x cubed plus 77x squared. And that'll go in parentheses. Then we're going to add our next binomial, which is, when I add them together, negative 60x minus 42. Now notice how I kept the sign here, negative, negative, right? Negative, negative. I want to separate this by addition, and you'll see why in a little bit, okay? Because when I take out the greatest common factor, I need them to be the same. I can't just make parentheses like this, okay? Because this becomes minus 60x, and if this has parentheses on it, minus negative 42, which actually is plus 42. We don't have plus 42. So we can't put parentheses around it. We have to rewrite. Okay, so always rewrite. Don't just jump right into parentheses. So let's take a look. Greatest common factor between 110x cubed and 77x squared. So I notice I have 1, so 11, 77. Right, so I know 11 goes in there. So 11 and then x squared. And when I take out 11x squared, I'm left with 10x plus 7. And now I want to take out a greatest common factor of my second binomial. So the goal here is to get my result after I take out a greatest common factor to be 10x plus 7. That way I can factor by grouping. In order to do that, I wouldn't take out a positive 6, I take out a negative 6. So negative 6. And that makes the inside negative 60 divided by negative 6 is positive 10x. Negative 42 divided by negative 6, positive 7. If I took out a positive 6, these would not be the same, and it wouldn't work. So just be aware of that. Okay. So they both have a factor of 10x plus 7. So I take that out, and what's left over is 11x squared minus 6. And that's how you factor by grouping. Your goal is to do examples 3 and example 4 on your own, and then have your teacher check your answer.